Okay, there we go. Trying to be fancy and get it all set up, but you don't want to turn the mic on early, because then people might hear you stumble over the confession of faith. You know, miss a word here and there, as we do. Grace and peace to you in the name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. It is a joy and an honor to be with you, and I bring you greetings on behalf of the 223rd General Assembly of the Presbyterian Church USA, and on behalf of the hermana Co-Moderator, my sister Co-Moderator, Marie Cintron Olivieri. If you read your packet, there was stuff in there about me, and so you may have noticed that my first call to ministry was here, in what was then the Presbytery of Miami, serving what was then the New Jersey Presbyterian Church. That was fun at conferences. People look at my name tags, oh, you're in New Jersey. No, you're in Miami. You're in Ohio? That's okay. So I served here for 6 years at the beginning of my ministry, and God is crazy and amazing. You all know that, and standing here today, I feel the proof of that yet again. So I have a little bit of time. Ooh, even I get to do this. Woohoo! I have a little bit of time, so I want to do just really quickly share with you about these three things. You are already a Matthew 25 Presbytery, yes? And as we've heard, we have congregations that have already accepted the invitation. How many people here have not heard about Matthew 25 before? All right, well, I'm going to skip that part then and give you the bonus piece instead. Which I think you will agree is a bonus piece. So first of all, hands and feet. How many of you have heard of the hands and feet? Awesome, that's great. So when our stated clerk, the Reverend Dr. J. Herbert Nelson II, was standing to be elected as stated clerk, one of the things that he brought forward was a vision. He said, I want us to be a church that when we gather, especially as a national body, but really anytime we gather, we do more than support convention centers, hotels, and local restaurants. Which is fine, but we're called to do more. And so when he was elected in 2016, he launched the Hands and Feet Initiative. And we got to see the first manifestation of that in St. Louis in the 223rd General Assembly in 2018. And we will continue to see that play out this June in Baltimore. So who is in St. Louis for General Assembly? All right. So you know what I'm about to share. So like I said, his vision was that we would do more than just sit in a convention center and in committee meetings and in plenary meetings and get all the free stuff in the exhibit hall, which we all love to do. We would make an impact as the gathered body of Christ, as the hands and feet of Christ, as the Presbyterian Church USA. And so working with our local partners in St. Louis, you can read that while I tell you. J. Herbert and the Office of the General Assembly started to have conversations with our partners on the ground. And this is really, really important. It's good practice for us in churches, too. Instead of J. Herbert coming in, or the Office of the General Assembly coming in to St. Louis and saying, we know what you need. And we've had a committee meeting about it, and we've planned it, and when we show up, June 2018, we're going to do it. We don't. Do we do that as churches ever? Yeah, maybe a little. No, we didn't do that. Instead, we had conversations with the people engaged in ministry on the ground in St. Louis. And J. Herbert will admit that that was hard. That maybe the things he was really hoping we would do were not the things that our partners in St. Louis were asking for. So conversation, collaboration, even that other C word, compromise. The result of that was the End Cash Bail March. Now, every General Assembly, we begin our national gathering, of course, with opening worship. That is how we begin our work together, reminding us that we're there as a body of Christ and not as a business. So in that opening worship service, we have always taken up an offering, and that offering has always been substantial. You know, $15,000 to $20,000. In St. Louis, the offering was designated to go towards the End Cash Bail movement in St. Louis, working with our partners on the ground. And the offering that we received was double, more than double, a normal opening worship offering for General Assembly. That tells you something, right? You know, people give when their hearts are caught, when their imagination is kindled. More than double in the offering, $47,000. We took that offering, and Tuesday afternoon, the committees worked extra hard, and hopefully those of you who were there were able to participate either in the plenary call for the teach-in or in the actual march Tuesday afternoon. We took that offering, we took to the streets, and we marched as the Presbyterian Church USA to the Justice Center, where people are held waiting, not because they've been convicted of anything, only because they've been charged with something and they cannot pay their cash bail. So who do you suppose has to wait because they can't pay cash bail? Of course, predominantly people who are poor, who live below the line of poverty in this country, and over 141 million Americans live in poverty in the United States of America, as a fact. So people who are poor are most impacted, and most impacted are people of color, people who are black and brown. It is a system of racial injustice that is written into law. So if you are stopped and your license is expired and you end up being arrested and you can't pay your bail, you wait in jail until the justice system turns. And what happens if you have to wait in jail because you can't pay your bail? What happens to your job? If you're in school, what happens to your education? If you have a family, what happens to your family? The ripple effect of this system is significant. It is changeable if we have a will to change it. In St. Louis in 2018, the Presbyterian Church USA, guided by our state clerk and our partners on the ground, took steps to challenge that system and to change the lives of people who've been caught up in it. Can you imagine how many people got to go home because we delivered a check for $47,000 that Tuesday? A lot of people got to go home. And just so we're clear, it was people who were being held on minor infractions. You know, it was people who were being held on minor, small things. We worked with the arch-defenders who cleared the cases, who did that casework to make sure that appropriately we were not paying bail for people who were being held on serious charges like assault or battery or violence against women or children. That's not who we were targeting. But there are a lot of people held on small things. So a quick story, maybe two quick stories. As we're marching, I mean, it's several hundred Presbyterians taken to the street. And, you know, Presbyterians, we've got our t-shirts, we've got our stoles, several of us were in our clergy collar, we had a big sign that said End Cash Bail would stop those who were on the edges of the march and say, "Who are you? What are you doing? What is this about?" And the people would stop and have some conversations. "Well, we're Presbyterians. What's that?" "Well, we're a church. We're here for our National Assembly, and this is what we're doing." And people join us. People want to be a part of that. This is the church actually being the hands and feet of Christ. We also at the Convention Center provided an opportunity for those who couldn't march, including some of our young adult advisory delegates who were minors and didn't have parental permission. You know, we tried to follow the rules. Those who were uncomfortable, who weren't sure, which is honest, and we need to respect that. So there was space at the Convention Center where people could learn more about the cash bail system, learn more about the organizations we were partnering with, so they could have questions answered, and also participate in a way that was authentic for them at that time. So one of our senior staff was standing at the edge of the Convention Center hall watching the teach-in. They were live streaming the march on the big screens. And one of the janitors, you know, who cleans up after us, one of the janitors came over and stood and watched for a few minutes. And then he turned to our staff member and said, "My brother's in there. He's going to get to go home today because of you. This is a good thing you've done." And when I checked out of the hotel at the end of a very full week, the woman who checked me out asked, "Are you all coming back next year?" So you tell me, were we the hands and feet of Christ in St. Louis? The people experienced that. We made a difference in people's lives, and because that end cash bail button is still open and people are still donating, we are continuing to make a difference through our partners on the ground. And because of that, there's now been an end cash bail march in Louisville, where the center is. Our state clerk has sat down with the mayor of Louisville to have conversations about the system of justice in that city. He sat down with the mayor of New York City to talk about their system of justice and the plan to close rikers. Because we were the hands and feet of Christ, when we gathered as our National Assembly, we have made a difference locally, and that difference is rolling out nationally. I don't know about you, but I'm so proud to be Presbyterian when this is part of our story. So in Baltimore, which is coming up in just a few short months, we are working with the Center, which is a ministry of the Presbytery of Baltimore. We've had hands and feet fellows, think young adult volunteers, young people. Actually, I think almost all of them have been women. So mostly young women who have committed 3, 6, 9, 12 months to work with the center, work with groups that are already coming in to engage in the ministry of the center. So even before we gather in Baltimore in June, we have already been present on the ground as the hands and feet of Christ, as the larger body of the PCUSA. And I believe information is going to be coming out in the next couple of weeks about what the action is going to be during General Assembly while we are gathered in Baltimore. So you've already heard about Matthew 25. So instead, I'm going to just tell you briefly about the symbols of the office of moderator. So for a long time, there was a moderator's stole. And many presbyteries have this tradition. There's one stole that's passed on from moderator to moderator, from neck to neck. And at some point, several years ago now, many years ago now, one of our moderators misplaced it. Left it behind somewhere, walked off without it. God knows, I left a toothbrush in Tucson a couple of weeks ago, and, understand in the way I could. People have told me that that was a gift to the church and a gift to the moderators that would follow, because it was getting a little worn, a little maybe not so awesome anymore. Since that time, the General Assembly has commissioned stoles to represent the particular place where the assembly is gathering. So new stoles for every assembly for the pair of moderators, either moderator, vice moderator, or now co-moderators. And those stoles are the moderators to keep. We get to keep these. It's not going to be passed on to anybody else's neck, just mine. So the stole that was designed for St. Louis is this one. You can see it's got the Peace USA symbol on the one side, and the fleur-de-lis representing, of course, Saint Louis, St. Louis, on the other side. At the very bottom of the stole, we have the three rivers where St. Louis sits. And of course, 3 is one of our holy numbers. The water of life, the water of baptism, the image of water conjures up lots of things for us in terms of what the Bible teaches us. And then between the symbols and the water, we've got these, what in my mind look like stalks of grain, because St. Louis is at, it's the gateway to the heartland. It's the gateway to the wheat fields. This always, for me, calls to mind the passage from Luke chapter 10, verse 2. The harvest is plentiful and the workers are few. Therefore, pray to the Lord of the harvest to send the workers out to the harvest field. And our call to be at work for the purposes of God's kingdom. And then, at the yoke point, the dove. Because it is by God's grace alone that any of us serve. I rely on that grace regularly, and then the gift of the inspiration of the Holy Spirit. So as the stole, new ones are being designed for St. Louis or for Baltimore. I imagine they'll have a crab on them. We won't know until June when the moderators are elected and the new stoles are placed around their necks. The other symbol of the office, let's see if I did, I wired myself correctly. The other symbol of the office is the moderator's cross. I don't usually pass it around in a group this big, but I'm going to here because you all helped form me. It does not come apart. Okay, don't try to make it come apart. It only swings a little bit. Don't try to make it go further, please. I don't want to be the moderator who broke the cross. and I will say, as you look at it, this is the original cross. I have the immense honor to carry the original cross. So as you pass it around, there are 3 crosses that make up our moderator's cross. So I also invite you to appreciate the weight of this, literally, the weight. 2 of the crosses were identical, the 2 facing crosses. And those crosses, their story goes back to the 1940s, to the time when our country, the United States, determined that Japanese people and people of Japanese descent were dangerous, were a threat to us, and their movements needed to be limited. At that time on the West Coast, you may remember some people were put into camps. And we had Japanese Presbyterian churches that were impacted by that, whose communities were gathered up and sent away, who had to leave everything behind. And other Presbyterian churches said, we will protect your church so it isn't vandalized while you are not present. It impacted our people. In Chicago, the pastor of Fourth Presbyterian Church in Chicago was having none of it. He was incensed. And he, along with the backing of the session, contacted the mayor of Chicago and the governor of the state of Illinois and informed them the Japanese people would be welcome to gather at Fourth Presbyterian, that they would be welcome to meet in their own worship service, and that he expected that that decision would be supported and protected. And so the church has pictures of the pastor on the street corner welcoming in people that our government had labeled as a threat. Welcoming them in so they could gather, so they could worship, so they could be in a place that was safe and welcoming. As a result of that community took up a thanks offering, which is culturally traditional and appropriate. And they presented that offering to the pastor. Now, he could have bought a plaque for the wall, he could have bought another book for the library, but he had a bigger dream in his heart. Because it was his great-grandfather who made the substitute motion that led to the split of the Presbyterian Church over slavery. It was his great-grandfather who made that motion. And his dream, the pastor in Chicago, his dream was that the church would be reunited someday. And so he went to Iona, Scotland, and he bought 2 identical crosses, came back to the United States, and presented those crosses to the moderators of those 2 Presbyterian denominations in the express and explicit hope that they would be reunited. A few years later, another pastor bought that middle cross that you see as it's being passed around and presented it to another Presbyterian church offshoot. You've experienced this yourselves as Presbyterian. Many of us have as Presbyterians. Sometimes we are a beautiful family, and sometimes we are not. Fighting and disagreeing vehemently is part of our makeup. And so there have been, as you know, many splits across that Presbyterian line over the centuries. So 3 crosses, 3 different groupings. Fast forward to 1983, the smaller group has already come back in, and now in 1983 we're ready for the vote for the 2 major denominations to be reunited. So after both voted yes, the moderators brought those crosses that they've been wearing, that have been passed down, assembly after assembly, since they've received them in the 1940s. The moderators brought those crosses. There was a big procession into the convention center, and waiting at the platform was a jeweler with part Japanese ancestry. And he took the crosses and joined them together at that rivet point. And then those crosses, newly joined together, were placed around the newly elected moderator of the newly formed reunited Presbyterian Church, USA. And this is the symbol that is passed on at every election to the new moderator. It's a symbol of our decision to welcome. It's a symbol of our decision that the law of God is greater than the law of the land. It's a symbol of how we in the Presbyterian Church have continued to speak and want to continue to speak for those who are disenfranchised. And it's a symbol of a desire for unity and reconciliation and hope that God can do more through us when we're together. All those symbols, all wrapped up in those crosses. My co-moderator sister, Marie, she is our first native Spanish-speaking moderator. She was born and raised in San Juan, Puerto Rico. She is a ruling elder, and as you can tell by my gender language, a woman. So those 3 things, to be the first Latina moderator of the PCUSA, is historic. It's amazing and historic. So after we were elected, I said, Neil Marie, you need to wear the cross, because all these things. And she said, oh no, my sister, you are less likely to lose it. So even though I've tried, like, no, you should wear it because it's original and you should, she's like, She's called me more than once. I can't buy the cross because we learned that when we finish our term of service, we'll receive a replica. We'll always bear the title Co-Moderators of the 223rd General Assembly, and we will have the right and honor of wearing the cross when we are representing that role. So she made the decision to receive her replica at General Assembly in St. Louis and wear it through her term. So she's doing this as she visits Presbyterians and groups and telling the story and passing her cross around. It's not quite as shiny as it was a little over a year and a half ago. And I get to pass around the one that will continue on in the office and add more stories, more fingerprints to our whole story. Where is it? Awesome, okay. I'm not going to be that moderator. So that's the story of the symbols of the office of moderator, which it is such an honor to bear those symbols. So the last thing I want to briefly touch on is Vision 2020. How many of you have heard about our Vision 2020 team? Yeah, I got a couple of you. So people who are really super smart are like, hey, we're meeting in 2020, and there's, we got hindsight is 2020, we want Vision 2020, all those good things, and also grappling with the fact that we are not super well branded as a denomination, right? Where I live outside of Boston, we have a lot of Roman Catholics, that's easy, they have the Pope, and a lot of Congregationalists. Do you know what their logo is? God is still speaking. Nice, they got a logo, easy. You know what the logo for the saying for the United Methodist Church is? Open minds, open hearts, open doors. I'm not sure if that's the exact order. So, what's ours? I think if anyone had one for us, it would be decently in order, and that's not exactly a stopping, raising, woo, let's get together kind of thing. We don't want to be known as the church that's decently in good order. That's our business, not who we are as followers of Jesus. So Vision 2020, this team was assembled, and part of their work was to help us brand ourselves, give us language, so that when people say, you're a what? How do you even spell that? We are able to respond with words that are to the point, that are descriptive, and that are hopeful. And so what they have offered us are these 5 words. What are Presbyterians? Well, we're prayerful, courageous, united, serving, and alive. That's all right. Yeah? And I hope you notice those. Thank you. There you go. You're getting letters of these 5 words. What are Presbyterians? We're prayerful, courageous, united, serving, and alive. And in the official representations of these words, it's alive with an exclamation mark. Not alive as in, I'm not dead yet. Alive as in Jesus is alive. Alive as in we're resurrection people. Alive as in the Spirit is moving. God's not done with us yet. That kind of alive. There are a lot of resources to go along with this. There's a guiding statement that unpacks what each of these are, both how we're not, confession, because that's part of who we are, confessing how we're not always prayerful. Well, sometimes we're not very courageous. How are we don't always act as if we're actually alive. So confession and also aspiration. This is who we believe God is calling us to be, and therefore we are determined to live into it, to step out in faith. There's a prayer that goes with it, and they are preparing even more resources that will be shared at General Assembly. They have a Facebook page and an Instagram page. Both of those are up there. So you can follow them, you can learn more about what they've been doing. And they have an important all Presbyterian thing. They have swag. Woo! They have bracelets. And those bracelets echo, reminding us that we're prayerful, courageous, united, serving, and alive. And this is part of the joy of this. I get to give out some bracelets. So, I want to make sure your moderator has a bracelet, and I want to make sure your vice moderator has a bracelet. And see, I only bring a few, so then you're like, oh, I want a bracelet. You can order them. You can do it. Let's see. And the two ministers who were introduced, there's you, and I didn't see, where's the, oh, you're over here. For some reason I thought you were back there. You were, so, I'm so glad it's not me. There you go. They're like, help your journey into the PCUSA. So, we are a denomination that's been through rough times. And the thing is, if we continue to be faithful, there'll still be rough times. And being faithful and following Jesus is not a guarantee that everything's going to be sunshine and roses and rainbows and puppies and unicorns. And the sermon will touch more on that. And yet we are a church that is stepping out in faith, that is seeking to be faithful, that is gathered as the hands and feet of Christ to make a tangible difference in people's lived reality here and now. And we are a church that has a vision for the future because we know God is not done with us yet. And in fact, God is poised with us to step out into a new chapter of ministry through us now. And I don't know about you, but I, in the midst of all the things that are difficult, all the news that is bad, all the things that weigh me down, knowing that I'm in a church that's going to be prayerful, courageous, united, serving, and alive, that gives me hope. Because Jesus is with us. And that's who we're following into the future together. So thank you so much for the invitation to be with you. Thank you for the time. And I don't know, there's a whole list of what all is planned while I'm here. So I do hope I'll have opportunities to chat with more of you. I see familiar faces from a few years ago. And I look forward to hearing more of the story of the Presbyterian in Miami Valley while I am with you this week. Thank you so much.